The price of admission to the election actually decides who represents you is joining a political party you spent your service being told to stay out of. A lot of veterans won't do it, not out of apathy, out of principle. The independence isn't a gap in their politics. It's the whole point. Welcome to Independent Americans. Welcome to episode 597. I'm your host, Paul Reichoff, and I'm coming to you from the beach. I am out on Long Island at the beach with my family for a few days. The kids just went to bed, I hope, after a long day of boogie boarding and football and ice cream and all that. But I am trying to take a couple of days away, but I have to cut a quick pod to hit what's going on because it is front and center. The weather out here has been amazing, but back in DC and in Montana and in Connecticut, it's not so amazing. Before I get to that, today's artist, because I've been listening to it on the beach and in the car a lot, is Kenny Chesney, because we need a little summertime. So I'm going to bring you that. I'm going to bring you more quick five eyes that I bring you in every single show: independence, integrity, information, inspiration, and impact to help you surge into a summer week. And most of all, stay vigilant. All right. Most folks are checked out for August. A lot of folks are at the beach. A lot of folks are on vacation. Some folks are getting ready for football and starting school. But it is another primary day. Unless you're in one of those states, you probably don't know it. Primaries today in Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, and Wisconsin. And they're all continuing a really shitty 2026 trend because the primary is effectively the election in nearly every single House district. Across those four states, 21 of 22, 95% of the races are uncompetitive in November, meaning the outcomes will be effectively decided in the dominant party's primary. Half those districts, there's no competition in either the primary or the general election. And according to new data from the Unite America Institute, 11 candidates have effectively been elected without having to win a single vote. 100% of the U.S. House races in Connecticut, Minnesota, and Vermont will be decided this week on primary day. That's not good for our democracy, for our country, for our elections, for our people. Shouldn't be this way. The system is not just broken, it's rigged by the parties. And Connecticut is one I want to focus on in particular because it stands out today, this week, as the only fully closed primary happening this week. More than 900,000 independent voters are excluded from its primary, from its party primaries, which are elections that will determine the entire state's House of Representatives. Now, I want to point ahead to next week, and we'll get into it more. But next week, Alaska will be happening, where we have open all-candidate primaries that are going to be a very, very sharp contrast. Alaska's system works. Alaska's system, like Washington and others, is a model. We're going to get more about that in the next couple of days. But Connecticut votes this week, votes today. Governor, 3 congressional seats, the whole General Assembly, and the single largest group of voters in that state, bigger than Democrats, bigger than Republicans, is not allowed to cast a ballot in any of it. You know, I'm bearing the lead here. It's independents, or as they call them in Connecticut, registered unaffiliates. Unaffiliated. It's 935,892, 41.5% of all of Connecticut. 935,892 people blocked out. Now, I want to be careful here because we get accused of inflating these numbers sometimes, especially by the partisans. We're not modeling anything. Connecticut registers its voters by party. The state keeps the list, and the state's own enrollment records say the unaffiliated is the biggest block in Connecticut. 935,000 or so unaffiliated. Democrats are 792,000, and Republicans are 489,000. Think about that. There's 136,000 unaffiliated and only 490,000 Republicans. The independents beat Democrats by 143,000 voters, and they beat Republicans by 446,000. They're first. We are first. If you're in Connecticut and you're unaffiliated, you are the largest group. And today, you're out. You're blocked out. Now, someone's going to say, a lot of people say this lately to me, it's fine. It's a primary. They can win in November. Here's the problem with that. Connecticut went for Democrats by 14.5 points in 2024. In most of those races, the primary is the election. If you're new to the show, this might be new to you. If you're not new to the show, you've heard this before. November is like a formality that ratifies a decision a much smaller group of people already made. So a sitting governor is being challenged inside his own party, and only registered Democrats get a say. There's a primary for the Hartford seat, and whoever wins is close to a lock in November. Republicans pick their challenger in Fairfield County. And in Connecticut's one genuinely competitive district, the 5th, the primary that shapes the whole race is closed to the people who likely decide it. That's not a technicality, people. That's the deciding round. And the largest bloc in the state is watching it from the parking lot. This is what's happening to unaffiliated independents, the rising plurality of us, almost the majority. And here's the part that's personal for us as veterans. That includes 129,563 Connecticut veterans. There are 129,563 veterans in Connecticut. Veterans walk away from two parties at a higher rate than almost any group of people in American life. And our estimate, and we call that an estimate because that's what this one is, puts about 49% of them identifying as independents. That's roughly 63,000 veterans. Now, think about the shape of that. You live in Connecticut. You raised your right hand. You swore an oath to the Constitution. You go do the thing. You come home. And the price of admission to the election actually decides who represents you is joining a political party you spent your service being told to stay out of. A lot of veterans won't do it, not out of apathy, out of principle. The independence isn't a gap in their politics. It's the whole point. And the system reads that principle as a forfeit, and it's wrong. Now, we mapped every one of Connecticut's 169 towns. It's linked in the show notes. In Stamford, it's 28,568 unaffiliated voters. Union, Connecticut, it's 260. Stamford and Norwalk together, it's 50,722 people locked out of today's primary from two cities. Every bar on that chart that you can find linked in the bio and linked in the show notes and also at Independent Veterans America, every single bar on that chart is somebody's neighbor's. And it's wrong. But we fight to change it every single day. We're fighting, and we got to keep fighting. Now, here's what I'm going to keep coming back to. Nobody was going to count this. There's no agency whose job it is to add up how many Americans get shut out of elections that decide the representation. Why? Because the two parties that run those elections have no reason to want that number said out loud. So we count it. Connecticut this week, Florida, New York, South Carolina before it, ballot access in all 50 states. 936,000 Connecticut voters sit out an election today that they are legally registered to participate in. And then in November, they come back. Still the largest bloc in the state. Still the ones who decide. They're worth counting, and we're going to keep fighting for it. With your support, we will fight forward, we will move onward, and we will stay vigilant. All right, I bring you this stuff because I think it's important, because I wish more of the mainstream and partisan media, corporate media would cover it, and because, frankly, nobody else will. So I hope you will share this critical information, especially with people in Connecticut, because that's where the action is right now. That's where we're being blocked out. This episode of Independent Americans is sponsored by Kalshi. We make predictions every single day. We talk about it on this show: politics, pop culture, the economy, the biggest stories making headlines all across America and around the world. Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, lets you trade those predictions in a live market. If you haven't checked it out, now is the time, especially around politics and the elections. Will Trump buy at least part of Greenland? If you think he'll do that before 2027 and you wager $100, it'll pay out $2,019.24. If you think it's going to be before January 20th, 2029, it's 17%. You can also pick whether or not you think the Republicans or the Democrats are going to win Congress. You can pick who you think the Democratic nominee will be, who the Republican nominee. It would be great to see if there's an independent nominee. There's a lot that you can wager on, but on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. It's fun. And if you listen to this show, you can stay ahead of the curve. So download the Kalshi app and use the code INDEPENDENT and get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade 25, which is pretty good. Kalshi, 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 trade on anything. 18 and older, restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Independent Americans, now is the time. Check out Kalshi. There is one more story, one we've been tracking on that's way below the radar for most. And it's why I had to record a special episode tonight while my kids are sleeping, so you would have it in your inbox on primary day, because Montana, the Senate race in Montana, is absolutely critical. You heard from Seth Bodner, independent veteran, on this show. Well, we knew that there was a deadline coming. That deadline was 5 p.m. on Monday. And now we know that deadline has passed. And Democrat Alani Bankhead has refused to drop out of the race in Montana. Now, remind you, in Nebraska, in South Dakota, in Idaho, there was a Democrat who had no chance in hell of winning because the Democratic brand was so toxic in those states. The numbers of Democrats were so small. They did the right thing. They dropped out. They gave us a chance to take on an incumbent, to take on a Trump rubber stamper, to give us an independent veteran instead. They gave us a chance, but not Alani Bankhead. And here's the result. VoteHub and others are already saying that Montana has now gone from likely R to solid R. VoteHub posted this: our Montana Senate forecast moves likely R to solid R, as Seth Bodner and Alani Bankhead both remain in the race, splitting the anti-Republican vote in an already heavily Republican state. There you have it, folks. Democrat Alani Bankhead has refused to get out in Montana, and she will be the spoiler. She is a spoiler. And Trump is smiling today and probably sending her a check and a thank you note. According to a recent Montana Free Press poll, 42% of Montanans identify themselves as independent. 42%. 39% identify as Republicans. And only 19% call themselves Democrats. A Democrat can't win in Montana. John Tester, the former Democratic senator, and so many others have said it. And now, thanks to the ridiculous and selfish Democrat Bankhead, an independent veteran probably can't either. We're going to stay on this story. We're going to do all we can to support independent veteran Seth Bodner and all the others. But every time someone tells you an independent is the spoiler, tell them about Democrat Alani Bankhead in Montana. We'll have more on this in the days to come, but don't let it fall below your radar. And most definitely, stay vigilant. All right, you can tell my voice is a little bit shot because I've been running out in the sun and doing all those things. But I'm going to keep bringing you new episodes throughout this week and throughout the summer. We're going to continue to especially focus on these primaries. If you like this primary episode, please share it far and wide, especially with people in Connecticut. Like I said, next week, we're going to focus on Alaska, which is a contrast. But invite others to declare their independence and stay vigilant, my friends, because eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. And no, you're not alone in your vigilance. We're all vigilant. We're all in this together. Even when I'm at the beach, I'm still staying vigilant, and I hope you will too. I am your host, Paul Rykoff. Thank you for tuning in to Independent Americans. I will see you tomorrow. Until next time, I will be out at the beach trying to disconnect from this madness at least a little bit, and I hope you can too. Find time to take a vacation, Because as my old mentor, Les Gelb, used to say, take vacation or you get stupid. So with that, I am going to bed. I'm going to hit the beach tomorrow, and I will see you next time. Stay vigilant, America. Stay vigilant.
Archipelago, he tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wake, it's time to grow. And it's not cool to believe in school, but if I can say one thing, I've seen the children of the revolution and the good trouble they can bring. He says the red and blue are dead and independent is an attitude. An island in the sea of rhetoric and archipelago, he tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wait, it's time to grow.
Powered by Righteous Media.